Are you on the ING interview team? You probably saw a different light than you did whenever they. Yeah, they stayed at me. Yeah, it's nice for you to stick around for the whole meeting. No, that's awesome. I love it. Yep.
Are they different?
Mine are.
January 18th. And then April later.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are different, but I got two here, screwed up, now version of this.
Okay.
So, the one that you're talking about.
Emphasis comes
Yeah.
in.
So the one that I put up here.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
These are the full ones up here.
See you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yep, that's all.
Got it.
I already got mine. Thank you, though.
You guys got came with the old time. Yeah. M&M crew back there. We just moved her back over.
I don't know that I'm still following.
Yes, right. Sure.
That clock is very slow, by 4 minutes. Wow. It's off 4 minutes,
It's still off.
so we're almost there.
I was gonna try to pull it down, but it's a little bit down.
I had that over there for a reason.
Yeah, I worked several campaigns and issues.
Okay, I've got 2:30, so we'll go ahead and begin. This is the Public Utility Advisory Board meeting for May 18th, 2023. Christina, can you please call the roll?
Steve McLucky,
Present.
Michael Talcott,
Here.
David McDowell,
Here.
Sherry Tyndall. Here. Anthony Jeremita.
Here.
Les Boatright.
Here.
Okay, first off, we need to approve the minutes from April 20th. Does anybody have a motion?
I move to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I just had one minor thing. It says, that on the item one, roll call, the board was able to establish a quorum, all members were present, but then up top, we had, that one member was not present, so that was the only thing I had.
You start spirit.
Does anybody else have anything? So do I need to make a motion to amend them?
Yes, please.
So I move to amend the minutes that all members were present to, almost all members were present.
President's noted.
Missed it.
Yeah, so can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have motion and a second. Anybody want to add anything? If not, please call the roll.
Steve McLucky,
Here.
No, it's yes or no.
I'm sorry? Oh, here.
No,
Yes. Okay.
it gets easier.
Michael Talcott,
Yes.
Dave McDowell,
Yes.
Sherry Tyndall,
Here,
Anthony.
yes. You messed me up, sorry.
Can I move?
Anthony Jeremita,
Yes,
Les Boatright.
Yes.
okay, it passes. First off, discussion, Lucy Young requests to speak to the PUAB regarding the April 25th, 23 council agenda, non-ordinance item number 3.
Question, point of order.
Yes,
We had a motion and a second on the original one,
Oh.
accept them, and then we made a motion and voted to amend them. Do we need to go back to that first motion? Or,
There wasn't a first motion made on the minutes.
I thought there was to approve them
Yeah,
second.
to
And
amend
then
them.
he brought up in discussion that there was a change, so he made the motion to make the change.
You're
So
correct,
we-
Bud.
so we need
You
to vote
to-
again.
you
Yeah,
need to
so
vote
I
to
think we
approve
need to
it.
go ahead and close out that vote.
you're correct, yeah,
I move to approve as
That's what I'm
amended.
here for.
How's that?
that'll work. We have a motion, we have a second.
I don't think we need a motion. We've already got a motion on the floor to approve the minutes after you made the amendment motion, so we're covered. We
Okay,
just need to take a roll call.
There wasn't a second on it, was there?
Yeah, there was a
Yeah,
second, and
yeah,
a third,
yeah.
maybe a fourth.
So which one are we voting to?
okay, we voted to amend the first time.
Right.
Now we're voting to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Okay, please call the roll.
Steve McLucky,
Yes.
Michael Talkett,
Yes.
David McDowell,
Yes.
Sherry Tindall,
Yes.
Anthony Jeremita,
Yes,
Les Boatright.
Yes.
okay. Now, Ms. Young,
Well, before
Uh,
I start, I think you ought to make Les the parliamentarian. Lucy Young, 2320 Viking Drive, Independence, Missouri, 64057, and a proud IPL ratepayer. I guess my
let me-
question,
let me just say, you have 5 minutes.
correct,
Christina will let you know when you have 1 minute remaining.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I printed this today for you to kind of go over. It's sort of the basis of what I'm going to say. I guess my question is, why wasn't this information shared with the PUAB, the council, and most importantly, the public? This information would have created full faith with the IPL ratepayers. Too many people have a poor perception of IPL with utility billing problems, and their only contact is their utility bill, which they call their IPL bill. Why not show them that IPL is the best buy for their dollar? Both these Stearns Brothers and Goldman Sachs reports show that we would possibly have a rate increase with the sale of IPL. The 2008 report states that purchasing power off the grid is projected to be more expensive in the future. The 2018 report predicted a 15% rate increase, and the 2022 report doubles those predictions as a possible 30% increase of our electric rates if IPL were sold. The 2018 report states that if we invest in new generation, then we could offset those bonds with energy sales. This is what Mr. Nail has been telling us for years. The City Council at their April 25th, 23 meeting approved a non-ordinance number 3 in this very room. I spoke against that resolution that authorized 2 new studies, one to rebuild IPL and one to sell IPL. The IPL ratepayers have paid for dozens of studies in the last decade. How much will these 2 new studies cost the ratepayers? These reports that you all have a copy of are pretty comprehensive and answer a lot of questions. The only place for redundancy is in our power grid, not in our studies. There should be a more in-depth updated report, but the general idea is already available. It will cost us more to purchase power, and there could be rate increases as high as 30% for the Independence residents. I'm frustrated as the PUAB was left in the dark with this report. How can you make well-formed decisions without receiving the data that you so desperately need? And as you look through the PowerPoint that I have put together here, and it's rough, you'll see that I've highlighted a lot of things like where they've shown where they've sold coal companies, and I believe that's what IPL is still considered, a coal company, or our licensing. And then on the second back page, it talks about they recently helped with potential sales. On the third page, it talks about the low liquidity where the board had removed the 120 days that they saved for billing purposes and reduced it down on that. The fourth page, where it says page 13 on the top, even introduces the fact is buying a plant a possibility. The next page is where we've got our capacity costs. It will pay higher cost. The next page that still says page 13 has it at the bottom where it says use fund to meet city needs. I'm sorry, this is the ratepayers' money. It is not the city's money. We should not be considering selling IPL to put into the general fund and to be used for projects that are not related to rebuilding IPL. And then the page after that at the top says page 18, where they talk about there's excellent opportunities to sell in the SPP market. The page after that talks about, that's the 2018 report where it talks about the 10% higher, I misspoke, the 10% higher with rate increase. And then the last one talks about that I've highlighted with the green arrow, talks about it would be 30% higher. So just from 2018 to 2022, it's escalated a possible 20% on there. So I'm sorry this is all kind of jumbled up. I'm not a professional speaker, as you well know, even though I do appear a lot. But I would like you guys to really look at this information and then question our city manager.
1 minute.
Why this has not been presented to you, to the city council, and to the citizens. Because if anything, IPL could use a facelift right now, and I think this would do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
And I'm sorry.
Let's see. Oh.
I wish I had more time to review all of this. This is a lot. And if we've been sitting on this and not sharing it with the people that help make recommendations, it's kind of, I'm flabbergasted, I'm sorry.
How about if we, put this on the next agenda to discuss, so we can maybe have everybody a little more prepared and a little more in-depth discussion?
I would also like to ask that Ms. Young, and I understand printing color documents is expensive, and she did this out of her own pocket. It'd be nice if we had the entire study. I'd like to look at the entire study that was presented, that we probably, no, this is just, this
You
is,
should have it right
Yeah,
here.
I think that's what these are.
is this the entire study?
No.
Two right there.
The other two are,
Yes.
yeah.
The ones marked
Okay.
I've got a question.
Sure.
Director Nail, this report has been shared with the council, is that correct?
I don't know.
With Stern Brothers?
That study was never done for IPL. It was done for finance.
Oh,
I
okay.
do not know if finance shared that, who they shared that with.
Have there been any studies that you all have done that have been shared with council?
Other than this,
Other
no.
than this, no, okay. Okay, so at least finance has seen this, but we don't know about anything above.
Okay,
So make a motion.
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think,
No, you're good at this.
Well, then I'd like to make a motion that we include, or that we place this Goldman Sachs study on the June meeting, June 15th, so it can be discussed
Second.
in more depth.
As part of that, are you gonna have anybody from like finance that did the report come discuss it, or? I mean, if they're the ones that asked for the report, maybe we should have somebody from finance speak to it. Rather than just
would
us
that be
guessing.
possible?
So there's two reports here. One is in 2018. I wasn't here. None of our leadership team in the finance department was there in 2018. So really no one can speak to that. That's here now.
Okay, all right. But we've got the 2022 version. Is it an updated version of that or something different?
Yes, the 2022 is an update that Goldman Sachs, my understanding is Goldman Sachs prepared that on their own as an update when the city was doing the discussion about refinancing the bonds.
Okay.
And to my knowledge, the only person that was discussed with was Director Kidney, and he's not here anymore either.
Okay.
So what's the best way to, I mean, who do we ask to be here? I mean, who do we have a discussion with? I mean, this is pretty important stuff.
Suppose you need to ask your questions, similar to how you submitted them this last time, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I ask anyone who knows whether the word confidential on these has any importance? I mean,
We're all looking at the legal.
Yeah.
should I be saying it, you know?
So, I mean, I'm seeing the documents here. I don't know where they came from, or, I mean, I know they're being provided by Ms. Young. So I can't speak to where they came from, or, I don't, you know, how she got them or anything like that. So I can't really help you with that. I'm sorry.
May I answer that?
Yeah.
Can I borrow?
Probably gonna need her up to a mic or something, because we're not gonna hear.
I put in a records request and received it, but if you go on Indie Energy's website, it's already out there on Indie Energy's website.
They might have
Thank
done-
you.
They might have done a records request.
Okay, I was gonna make a comment that we should probably treat it all as confidential, but it's already out. Oh, well.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a motion on the floor,
Yeah.
and I know we're discussing it, but
Did we get a second?
you like your motion the way it is? To put this on next month's agenda?
Well, my question now is who are we gonna get to discuss it with?
I think amongst ourselves is probably good enough.
Okay.
Well, I think like what was brought up before is to turn your questions in. And then once we get the response to those, we can discuss the answers to those. And that may tell us who else we need to talk to. That may be a place to start.
Okay, so
Mr. Chairman.
should I reword? Well, no, we got the motion.
We have a motion unless you wanted to
You can
take it
withdraw
down.
it.
I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I can tell you, I have reached out to Goldman Sachs to see if they can give me some understanding of how this was developed and what methodology they used, and I have not gotten any response. I can continue to do so, and if we find out more, we can provide that to you.
That would be great. I think that would be helpful.
So,
Okay, so the motion's been withdrawn.
okay, so do you need a new one or just regarding sending questions then?
I say make a motion about us turning in questions
Okay,
to Christina,
okay,
and then she can get them to the appropriate party for us to answer.
okay. You did that pretty good.
All right, I'll make a motion of what I just said with a date. Our next meeting is on what?
The 15th, June 15th.
So do you want them in by June 1st to give them 2 weeks to try to get them answered? Is that enough time?
Would probably
This is
be
yes,
best.
this is no. I guess we'll do it by June 1st and we'll see what we have. So we get our questions in by June 1st to her, she can forward them on to whoever, and we'll see what we get back in time for the meeting.
Second,
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll on the motion.
Gene McLuckie,
Yes.
Michael Talkett,
Yes.
David McDowell,
yes.
Sherry Tindall,
yes.
Anthony Jeremita,
Yes.
Bo Wright.
Yes,
Okay,
Mr. Chair, could I add something real quick?
yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to manage expectations here just a bit on these questions because you might have very specific, detailed questions. And, this was not a report that was developed by anybody here. So a lot of these questions may not be able to be answered by us. Just want to make sure that we're clear on that. Okay.
Okay.
And I think, Mr. Neal, you were gonna continue to try and get a hold of Goldman Sachs and. Yeah.
Yes, I will.
To get some
I'll
background.
continue to reach because I would like to have a better understanding of where they got their information, how they developed their conclusions, because my reading of the report, I can't tell what they included or didn't include. So I want to have an understanding myself, and I will continue reaching out to them.
Sure,
But
thank you.
like I said, so far, I've not gotten any response to my request.
Okay.
Okay. The next item is continued discussion on council's non-ordinance action item number 3 from April 25th. Let's see.
Number 4.
Before we discuss this, we really need the answers to the questions that we sent out. Is that what number 4 is? Is the answer to the questions that we sent in?
I think two and four may be tied together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I kind of feel like they are.
I think if we move 4 to 2, if that's,
Yeah.
do we need a motion for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to,
Well,
or do you want
I'll move to move question 4, or topic 4 up to number 2 and discuss it first.
Or discuss them together.
Or, yeah, discuss them together.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Mr. Boatright.
Just put me in if somebody doesn't.
All right, please call the roll on the motion.
Steve McLucky,
Yes.
Michael Talkett,
Yes.
David McDowell,
Yes.
Sherry Tindall,
Yes.
Anthony Jeremita,
Yes.
Les Boatright.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Cover. Am I pronouncing that right?
It's Cover.
Cover?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We had submitted some questions. I
Yes, sir.
believe there were 4. Do you have anything for us?
The 3 or 4?
Or 3 with a addendum, I think.
Oh, okay,
is the
okay,
way it
that-
kind of got.
I've got some notes here, but I only had them. Okay, well, yeah, we'll also start talking and go from there. Okay, so as you know, I understood it. The first question was, did non-ordinance action number 3 violate the charter because they did it without consulting with you all? Okay, my position on that is no, it didn't, and that's because they haven't really done anything. All they've asked is for more information. I would expect the council to engage you all at some point in that process if it goes forward. I would also say that, you know where that this is on their radar. Technically, they don't have to, you don't have to wait for them to ask. You can certainly, if you have an opinion and have, want them to be aware of certain things, you can certainly present that or send that to them. So no, I don't think it violated the charter, and it's certainly not too late as far as I understand. Nothing has even happened as far as that action item goes, number 1. And again, to the extent you all want to discuss, evaluate, present your thoughts or recommendations, again, you don't have to wait for an invitation from the council to do that. You can certainly do that on your own.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Cover.
Yeah.
My question with, my issue with that is, and I'm gonna read, and I know you know it, but I'm gonna read 3.18. The council shall not pass any ordinance, resolution, motion, or other proposition which relates to any matter of policy or planning of a public utility operated within the city without first giving the board the opportunity to submit to the council within a reasonable time the board's findings and recommendations relating to such matters. And what I'm gonna also add is, to my recollection, it was either my first or my second meeting that this came up, because several had heard the rumors about we want to sell IPL. So it was told it's against the charter. It's a charter violation, even if we discuss selling. So we're to ignore the rumors. And so to that, I said, so to those ignoring the rumors, here we are. So also, as far as, I understand that they can do whatever they want. However, the process has always been, as stated in here, they still present it, what they want to do, to the PUAB board. Then whatever we send back, they can choose to agree or not agree, and they can do whatever they want to do. So that's where I'm coming from this. To me, it's I'm not legal by any means, but it's black and white to me, because they didn't present it to us first, as it states in the charter.
Sure, and let me say, I can see where you're coming from. That's not an unreasonable spot. My point is, it talks about a policy. They haven't adopted a policy. They're just trying to get some more information. They haven't taken any. There is no action has been taken to do anything in terms of what the future of IPL looks like. They're just trying to gather more information. Now, historically, and is perhaps would that have come to you all also? You all are have been around longer than I have, so I can't speak to that. If that is something that historically, previously would have come before you all, even though it wasn't necessarily an action item, that where they were taking action. Clearly it didn't this time, and so I can see, given where you all are and what your prerogative is, why that would be frustrating to you. My position is that, again, because they haven't actually done anything in terms of actually taking action one way or another, that it's not a charter violation. Again, that said, nothing prevents you all from taking the information that's in non-ordinance action item number 3 or anything that comes out of that, regardless of whether or not the council asks, and forming your own conclusions and recommendations on that and submitting that to them. So in the end, as you all know, that's a recommendation to them, but this ship not only has it not sailed, it hasn't even been built yet. So I mean, we're this process is not even really underway, and so there is still multiple opportunities for you all to provide input as it goes along.
Well, okay, respectfully, along with that, we've kind of now entwined a couple of the questions, because yes, they have, haven't they? They've actually set a date for a vote on the whether to sell or not to the public as a date of this November of 23. That's what was in the resolution, or at the earliest, and at the latest November of 2025. So they've already directed the city manager's office to start working on collecting data and start working on finding somebody to do these 2 comparable studies. So to me, that looks very much like they've taken action, because they've put dates in black and white. They put the date down in their action. So respectfully, that's what I'm trying to figure out, where you're saying they haven't taken action. However, by putting specific dates, to me, that looks like action.
And that's reasonable. And again, this is my opinion. You're certainly entitled to your opinion. But at this point, they haven't taken any action to actually do something one way or another. They're are supposed to consult and cooperate with you all, and again, I would expect that to happen at some point. But even if that invitation didn't come from them, nothing stops you all from doing that now.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Interject here? What would constitute an action? You keep saying that they haven't
Sure.
Made an action that is irreversible or anything.
Mm-hmm.
What would constitute an action that they take?
If they had passed an ordinance to put a ballot measure forward to the public to sell IPL, for instance, to me, that's taking action.
Okay. But just a resolution wouldn't be.
I mean, and this wasn't even, in terms of council actions, I mean, this is as low as it gets. I mean, you know, it in terms of the level of what they did, it's essentially, you know, it's a directive is what it is. It's not even a resolution, and it's not even an ordinance. So I mean, it's you know, it's a directive. That's, like I said, basically it's the lowest level of what they can do. But my point is, you know, in the end, nothing can officially happen based on what they did. This is just starting the process. So again, you all can, you know, are entitled to feel that they should have come to you first, and you know, I'm not going to argue with that, and that's, you know, again, certainly your prerogative. But you know, in my opinion, you know, what they did was within the charter, and beyond that, it's certainly again up to you all how you want to, you know, participate and give them, you know, input going forward.
Did Les have something?
No, I was just gonna.
Okay,
ask
so.
you to read from the good book there on what the wording was, but I got it.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then we're gonna keep going here.
Yeah, we can agree to disagree. That's
Right.
okay.
No, and I agree, and I appreciate that. And again, this really isn't about they stepped on our toes. That has nothing to do with it. I don't care, you know, one way or the other with that. But I do care when we're trying to represent the city like we're supposed to be doing as a board. So underneath that, nothing herein shall be construed to prevent the council from passing any ordinance, resolution, motion, or other proposition which in the judgment of the council is necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, property, health, safety, or morals, and which in that judgment of the council should become effective prior to consultation with the receipt of findings and recommendations from the board. Okay, now I've said this isn't about toes being stepped on. The point is, and I'm hearing what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
However, that's still, I when it comes to, okay, let me back up a minute. When I was listening to the Charter Review Committee, they were talking about the municipal courts. And I know we're kind of out, but this is kind of all just mushroomed into one thing. So the point that even Mr. Walker made was, we haven't even done a study on what there is to do with municipal court, because it says there shall be a municipal court.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't do a study. Right in here, in 3.12, there shall be an electric utility department. So even Mr. Walker made the statement, the word shall is a very powerful word. So that very powerful word says that we can't do it. So I'm using the same thing, and I know this is mushroom, but I don't know any other way to really answer things the way that I had them written down. But that kind of goes back to the point when I started on the board. No, we can't. The charter doesn't even allow us to discuss sell an IPL. And here we are. And not only did they skip the process and eliminate PUAB, but they went ahead and passed something which, and I understand that you're saying that nothing can come out of it, but again, they've put definite dates for a vote by the public. They put November 2023 or as no later than November 2025. That's what my issue is. They have put it as they've set a date, they've set a time frame to take a vote on the sale of IPL. And that's in their action.
So I see what you're saying, but I guess to the, you know, the chair's point earlier, that non-ordinance does not put anything on the ballot. We can't send that non-ordinance action to the election board and say, okay, we want this on the ballot. It doesn't do what it has to do to put it on the ballot. So I understand what you're saying about they put these dates down, but those dates at this point are really just for the city manager to have, some guidance. They don't mean anything because again, this non-ordinance action item would not put anything on the ballot. It's insufficient. So that would take a formal action from them. And as he asked, and that I would consider to be action from them, that again, I would expect that, they would consult you with beforehand. But that's the kind of action that we're talking about in terms of, coming to you all first. And to me, doesn't rise to that level.
But all along, again, and I know I'm beating a dead horse, this horse is going to have a lot of bruises on it, I guess. But the problem that I see is from day one, I'm told, ignore those. We can't, it's against the charter to even discuss selling IPL. So I know you weren't privy to that. However, that's what we've been told, that it's against the charter to even discuss selling, let alone put something forward to start making things start to roll. And I hear what you're saying, but this is the snowball getting started. So it's the beginning. It may not be the final thing, as you say. However, it's the beginning.
I'll give you a rest and I'll jump in and let you catch your breath. I think we're assuming that a lot of the council members have read that charter and understand it. And you're going to find a lot of folks have never read that or don't understand it. I know the late Karen DeLucy had read it and understood it and had called several things up to their attention that they were violating the charter. They may not even have realized they were violating the charter when they made the resolution that they did to get this thing before the people. It was a little premature to put a date on it because they're looking at a study to figure out what to do when we grow up. Do we want to keep our utility? Do we want to change it, sell it, whatever? So them to put a date out there, like you said, really means nothing without anything behind it. So they could say that that's their resolution. They can always amend that if they don't get to that date or change it or whatever. Is it worrisome? Yeah, that it didn't. It kind of seems like they put the cart before the horse. But they are looking for, when they put out this request for proposal, for somebody to come in and study IPL. What do we do? How are we going to change this? What needs to be done to make it, keep the rates as low as we can for the citizens of Independence, still maintain the reliability, the integrity of the system. So that part, I understand we need to go out and get information. The resolution maybe wasn't handled correctly by putting the date on it like they did, saying that we want to take it before the voters to make a decision. Decide why. We don't know anything yet. Like you were saying, we're not even on the dock to get on the ship. There's no dock even built. We have to wait for that all to happen. So are they going to meet their 2-year deadline? Who knows? A study like this is not something you do overnight. And there's been other studies done in the past that, talking to one of the council members, they saw it. They just weren't sure they were getting the entire story. And I don't know what quite all that meant. So will we do another study and will that be accepted by them? Who knows? Are we going to be in a long-term study session here where we get one report after another? I don't know. Yeah, it would have been nice if they'd have come up here and talked to us like at one of the meetings or something to say, we're looking at doing this. What's your thoughts on this? And I just think the whole charter thing just slipped by them. There was nobody there to call it on them. There are things that pop up in the charter all the time that I'm on the charter review committee, and I hadn't really read the charter fully until I got on that and looked at some of the stuff in there. It still talks about milk and milk processing plants. Where are those? So it needs a lot of work to get updated. And yeah, it bothers me that they've got this resolution out there with that end date, but it's kind of a deadline for them to make a decision on what they're going to do too. And I look back at what's going on right now with the pit bull ban and how that's progressing and how slow that's moving. So that's moving slow. Think about what they're going to do to the entire electric infrastructure of the city. That's going to take a lot more discussion, whatever you want to call it. So I think, yeah, we have a right to say something. And like you pointed out, we can still make our intentions known. We could draft a letter with it. We could do a lot of things to get our point across to them that we think they violated it, and to be very careful the way they proceed on this, that we need to work together on it and not just be omitted, from the process. Okay, now you can catch your breath.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I guess on that, I don't know what else to say, but I stick by to me, it looks black and white that whether they want to listen to us or not, that the process is, and this is the current charter. This isn't the new charter. This is the current charter. And it says that's what they'll do. I mean, I don't know how else to express that. And I respect your opinion. But I'm going to stick with mine and say the process in the charter says that they can do whatever they want, but that still technically has to come through us first. So I don't know what else to say then about that.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I'm just here to answer your questions the best I can.
I'd like to ask one detail on that.
Yeah, go right
So,
ahead.
I wonder if in the charter where it says we will have an electric utility, what extent does that department function?
Well, it
Such
says we'll have
as-
a utility department.
Right.
It doesn't say we'll have a utility. That department could handle,
Billing only,
yeah.
and all the equipment is owned and operated by someone else? I'm not sure exactly how extensive the department needs to be considered a department. And so that could be a direction they're going.
Would it be, like, to your point, just transmission and distribution? And, that would be the utility, the electric utility.
I have a strong feeling that some people are looking at that.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have anything? Questions?
Not on that one.
Okay. You want to move on to number 2?
Well, I think we've kind of discussed number 2. So I think, didn't you say, Mr. Cover, that even though it says there shall be, and I understand what Sherry's saying, I guess my question is from charter review, the things that were said in charter review regarding there shall be a municipal court.
Sure.
There shall be an electric utility department. And I like I said, I understand where Sherry's coming from. However, it still says there shall be.
Well, I think, beyond what, Ms. Tyndall, I think, was alluding to, if you, two thoughts on that. One, if you read farther in 3.14, it says that the council by ordinance may provide other public utilities, enterprises, and services which the city may operate, and also by ordinance may change the title of the department and the director to Department of Public Utilities and Director of Public Utilities, respectively. So while it does say again in 3.12 and 3.13 there shall be electric utility, the director is a director. It also then in 3.14 says, but the council can change that. So and then obviously if it's just a director of utilities, well then that could encompass any number of functions. So that's my first part of it. My second part of it is, in the question of how could they sell it if the charter says this, if there was a desire to be overly cautious, what could also be done is, along with a question of, to the public on the ballot, shall IPL be sold, and shall charter section 3.12 be updated accordingly or something like that. It doesn't have to, there's no set way that the charter has to be amended. It doesn't have to go through a charter review commission. The council can just put that on the ballot to the people to amend it. So if there was a desire to kind of clean up the charter with that respect, if there, if with a potential sale, you could actually, do that as part of a ballot question to sell IPL and make that change. So I'm not, again, no one has discussed this with me. I didn't look at this till you all asked the questions. But there is a little more flexibility in there than it may first appear.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in here a second.
Okay.
Because I hear that. What's the point in having a charter then, if you can go through and go, oh, well, it says here that we can't sell IPL in the charter. So what we'll do is we'll just say, we'd like to sell IPL and we're gonna forget about what it says in the chart.
Well, the point is that's what the charter says now. As you said, I mean, the charter is what it says, like it or not, agree with it or not. In this case, it gives both, some flexibility in this particular situation in terms of changing the name of the department, changing the director. That's, unique language that that was voted on and approved specific to this. I can't, give you any background as to why, but that's there. And secondly, yeah, any of it can be changed if the people of Independence vote to change it. I mean, that's true for the whole thing. So this is what we have. We're bound by it, but it's also subject to interpretation and subject to amendment by the people.
It seemed to me it doesn't sound like we're bound by it now, just.
But they haven't
Continue.
changed, but they haven't changed it yet.
Agreed. There has absolutely been no changes to the charter.
It doesn't matter because they can decide to change it whenever the hell they feel like it. That's my point.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
Continue.
No, that's okay. I don't want to be the only one asking stuff. So, I think on number 2, on the stating with the citywide vote, I think we probably discussed that. But again, I think my concern is that they're putting the cart before the horse. They're trying to talk about selling based on what the new charter will say, not based on what this one's saying. So if that, I see the look on your face.
I mean, respectively, I'm going to disagree with you. I as far as I know, I mean, except for maybe the first meeting, I can't say they're not watching online. I don't think the council hasn't been attending the charter review meetings. I know because I'm there. Mr. Bo. Oh, right. I'm just saying, I don't think this is relying on any sort of future charter language. Because I don't know that, I mean, at this point, it's still, that's a long ways off. Let's be clear about that. Any sort of, the charter review process is going forward. That still has a long way to go. I'm looking at right now, the charter as it is today, right now. And, this is my position that, in terms of the utility, there's just, again, in 3.14, it gives some flexibility there. Like it or not, in my opinion, that isn't necessarily found in other places. And beyond that, like any part of the charter, it could be changed, if the voters approve a change. And so that's my only point.
Okay.
Yeah, the charter review process, we're going through making changes. That the way the charter is, like you said, right now, that's what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And until it goes through us getting done, going to the council, they bless it, and everybody else needs to bless it, and then go to a vote of the people. That document you've got before you is what we're going with.
Okay.
And there's been I've been to all the meetings except the very first one, and there's been no council members that I remember.
At the very first, at least the mayor and I believe at least one council member were at the very first meeting.
And I wasn't on the on the committee then. I got brought in when Bridget McCandless got elected. But I haven't seen any council members there.
And that's not what I wasn't. I wasn't inferring that any council members were going to the charter.
There's been quite a lot of discussion on the shalls and musts and all that throughout the whole charter. I mean, we've really been picking that thing apart. If you can't sleep, watch it.
I do watch them. So
Okay. Anything else?
Number 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that was number 3.
Yeah, I guess we're done with number 2.
Oh, okay.
Number 3, if nobody has anything else. Okay, my question on number 3 is, if the utility is sold, what happens to the profit? What is allowed to happen to the profit? Because my understanding is that that they're not supposed to use any funds for the general operation of the city. So can you enlighten me on that?
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, the short answer is the charter doesn't speak to that. I mean, the charter doesn't speak to what would happen. It doesn't contemplate what would happen if IPL was sold. So, in reading the charter, I can't tell you. I'm familiar with the section you're referring to about using the revenues. I mean, my sort of logical thought is, okay, if you have the money, if you can't.
And shall not be used directly or indirectly as a general revenue producing agency for the city, but it may be used to pay the amount in lieu of taxes and normally placed on private business enterprises. After providing for depreciation, accruals, amortization of bonds, and for reasonable accumulation of surplus, the electric utility shall apply all annual profits to a rate reduction. So where I'm at with this is, my understanding and the way I'm coming at this is, if it's sold after all debt services and everything is taken care of, the money that's left over, my understanding with this, they can't just throw that into the general fund. That would have to go back to the ratepayers.
Well, so 2 thoughts. One is, it says it shall not be operated for the benefit of the other municipal functions. Once it's sold, it's not being operated anymore. It's, I mean,
right.
That there's a difference there. Operation means ongoing. You're actually, you have a utility. It's putting out power. You're collecting bills. Once it's sold, it ceases operation from the city standpoint. So I think, again, there's an argument whether or not this applies at all. To the extent there is any left over, it shall be applied to rate reductions. Again, if you don't have an electric utility anymore, you can't reduce rates. So I understand where you're coming from. I don't think it contemplates a sale, in this language, but I don't think that the language that's there currently would, necessarily prevent the city from, to the extent there was some sort of surplus, towards putting that towards, another function.
Okay. I'm just gonna see that one.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
I feel like the word profit, operating profit, goes back to the ratepayers, so to speak. The sale itself as a final act would be a profit, perhaps.
Well, and it doesn't say go back to the ratepayers. It says
rate
to rate reductions.
Yeah.
And again, my point is, if you don't have an electric utility, there's no rates to reduce.
Yeah.
So that would be a difference. But the way I read it, it would go toward, any profit goes towards rate reductions. If you don't have an electric utility, then you don't have any rates to reduce.
True.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything? Any questions? Hearing none. Yeah. Okay. The next time, thank you for being here and answering our questions. We appreciate it. We may have to have you back again. Just be aware.
Understood.
The next item would be item number 3, discussion about inviting representative from APPA to come speak to the PUAB. Requested by Mr. Talcott.
Yeah. I don't know if this would need to be in the form of a motion, but what I'd like to suggest is that, like we talked about last month about APPA, since we're members, if there's a way to go ahead, if I need to make a motion, to make it official, but to have, reach out to APPA to see if we can get a representative to come present to us on the benefits, pitfalls, negatives, pros, cons of our own utility. So I don't know. Mr. Nail, can you kind of maybe read my mind and see where I'm going with this?
Well, I mean, we could certainly make a request like that, but if I could make a suggestion, why don't we start with Missouri Public Utility Alliance? MPUA is an alliance of municipal utilities right here in Missouri, so they're definitely familiar with the issues that Missouri utilities face. The current president of MPUA is the former chairman of City Utilities of Springfield, so he's also got a lot of relevant experience that might be of benefit to you all. And I think we probably have a higher likelihood of extending an invitation to him and having him come to a meeting than we would somebody from APPA. APPA, their board is scattered all over the country, but we've got MPUA right here. So just a suggestion.
He also served as chair of
APPA. Prior to MPUA, he's also a past chairman of APPA.
Okay.
So John Twitty has a lot of experience that we could draw from.
Okay.
Do you think we should just like have a motion to extend an invitation to him at his earliest convenience?
Sure.
Would that seem reasonable to you?
Or maybe make it a little, not so earliest convenience, isn't 6 months down the road?
Oh.
You know, because we've already seen that. So I think we need to be a little specific. Okay, Mr. Nail, what kind of a time frame would you suggest would be reasonable? And I hate to use the word expect, but to expect somebody to be able to come speak to us.
I will contact him. If this is what you all ask, I will contact him tomorrow and see what his calendar looks like.
So I can't speak to something real quick.
Sure.
Real quick, I will say, next PUAB meeting, I know that he's busy because him and I are in the same national APPA meeting in Seattle. So he wouldn't be available for that next meeting. So I guess it would be up to you if you wanted to extend and ask him to come to a special meeting, or if you wanted to extend and see if he could come to the July meeting.
Yeah, I think a regular meeting would be
So
fine.
just like July.
And that's kind of why I was thinking at his earliest possible convenience.
Sure. Okay. That's fine.
That'd be okay. Do you want to make the motion, or somebody want to make a motion?
I'm okay if somebody else wants to do it. Okay, I move that we ask Mr. Nail to contact MPUA president and see when his availability would be to come speak to PUAB.
Second. No. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Dean McLucky,
Yes.
Michael Tauket,
Yes.
David McDowell,
Yes.
Sherry Tyndall,
Yes.
Anthony Jeremita,
Yes.
Les Boatright,
Yes.
Okay. That takes care of all the discussion topics. That moves us to reports. Finance and administration.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I reviewed your financials for March, which is the 9th month of the fiscal year, 75% of the way. Really, in order to not be redundant, there's really all the previous variances that were spoken to still apply. Miscellaneous revenue for IPL is up because of the hurricane for the most part. Operating supplies for IPL is at, or other services for IPL is at 96% of the budget. I am interested to see what ends up happening. I think what's going to happen is that the expenses that have already been encumbered are included in there, and they're going to be watching their budget. So not a concern yet, but we will watch that. Didn't have anything other than fund balance, what you want to call reserves versus cash we have for reserves is looking good. We are positive in that area. So another thing I looked at this month that I thought I would mention. Water looks all reasonable. Penalties, connection and disconnect charges are up. Good for the city, bad for the residents, but that's the status. Again, fund balance looks good there. And for sanitary sewer, it's all pretty much right on budget everywhere. So looks really good as far as that's concerned. Miscellaneous income, investment income is up. Fund balance looks great. I don't know if you guys had any questions as you saw it. I believe we got you your answer on, or Dan got you your answer more than me, Dan.
Yes,
Kristen.
and thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for finance? Hearing none.
I guess I will also say I will look for these reports. I'm wondering who they were addressed to, since they say they're confidential. I don't know. I think the biggest question will be who requested them, who the letter was addressed to, under what circumstance were they requested. I'm not sure. And I don't know if confidential meant that that is why they were not distributed and or put out on the website. Again, to what Adam was saying, I don't know that we'll be able to answer that question because it could all just be a guess at this point. But I will try to dig.
Thank you. Any information you can give to us to enlighten us the least little bit would be appreciated.
Yes, no problem. And then I will also ask some questions because I just have a question from a budget standpoint and an RFP standpoint as far as the studies that the council requested. Who is writing their RFP? Who is funding the study? Has it been budgeted? Those kind of questions. So just procedural questions.
I have a question, Ms. Harris. When you do that digging, if you find out the cost of these studies, that would really be helpful because I'd like to know how much we've already spent analyzing this situation.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next would be municipal services. Question on sewage sludge to farmers and PFAS requested by Mr. McLucky. You're sitting over there today.
Well, and
I'm
Oh.
gonna pinch hit for her right now. So, yeah, you had specific questions regarding PFAS.
Yes, I saw in the media that Maine has banned selling PFAS chemicals to farmers because they found that the fields were contaminated. So I guess the first question is, do we test for PFAS? And if so, what do we know? And then I don't know if there will be a second question.
Okay.
So first tell me if we test.
We do not. It is not required by the state or the feds, for that matter.
Okay.
Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and a couple others in the Northeast do require it. The states require it. They've set their own limits. The feds have not set limits yet.
Okay.
Missouri's waiting for either the feds to set the limits, or for us to kind of set them with the state, for the locals to kind of help guide that over the next 5 to 10 years. So right now we are not testing. More than likely what's going to happen next year when our permit cycle begins again, which is for 5 years, they will add that in as a monitoring requirement, not actually a limit, to set a limit, just to say, what are you guys seeing to help set the limit later on?
Yeah.
So we're expecting that starting next year, we will have to probably start sampling and testing for that. So we're prepared for that. But as of now, we're not testing our sludge.
Okay. Now, the second question is, am I correct that we do sell to farmers now? Or what do we do with that stuff?
No, we don't sell. We actually pay a third party to take our sludge and land apply it.
Okay.
Versus taking it to the landfill, which is about 50% cheaper than taking it to the landfill.
Okay.
So a company called Synagro will come pick it up, haul it off, and then apply it to farmers' fields. So right now we're producing a Class B product, which can go to some of these fields that produce food for animals, not for human consumption.
Okay.
We are prepared to create a Class A product in the future. We're ready to do that when there's a demand. And at this point, there's not a demand in Missouri for that. So,
Okay.
love to give you a walkthrough of the new, actually everybody, a new walkthrough of the new system. It just went online about 3 weeks ago. So we have been landfilling up until about 3 weeks ago. But now,
Well, I need the tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's
We'll set it
talk.
up.
Filing in that process too, so we're not, the manufacturer of the lime stabilization process is still tweaking that system a little bit just to make sure the product that comes out is what it needs to be. If it's not, if there's too much water, not enough lime, something in the mix, then they take it back to their facility and finish processing it and then proceed to land apply it after that.
Okay.
so right now, some of ours is hitting it, and they can take it straight to the field. About 30%. We're not dialed in exactly yet, and I say we, the group that actually built it for us, the Schwing is the company. They're working on the specifics to make sure we're dialed in every single time. So we need to hit a pH of over 12 for the first test, another pH of 12 2 hours later, and then the next day we have to hit a pH of over 11.7. 11.6, 11.7, and that second day we're actually not able to hit that yet
Okay.
routinely. So, but we're close. We'll be there.
What was the name of the company?
Synagro.
Centro?
Synagro. Synegro.
Okay.
I believe is how you spell it. They're kind of essentially the main group across the Midwest that handles that stuff.
Okay.
So Little Blue Valley Sewer District also uses them.
Thank you.
Sludge. Any other questions?
Anybody else have any questions? Does municipal services have anything they want to add?
No, but
Nope.
I would invite you to come check out the new process when you have a moment, so
Okay.
We're very proud of it.
we are. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
You know, we've been hearing about it for quite
We've
some
been talking
time.
about it a lot.
Glad it's finally online. Okay, Water Department, Mr. Montgomery.
He didn't ask the water department if we tested. I don't know that you care, but to answer the question, we do test for PFAS. I say it differently. I don't know what the real word is, but Independent's latest testing shows non-detect levels for all 4 compounds, and the minimum detection level of 1.7 nanograms per liter, which I guess that's like a billion.
PPT,
Say it again.
parts per trillion.
Parts per trillion, okay. And so that's the minimum risk level that is out there, just a little value added. At least it's not in the drinking water to speak of. At that detection level, they just keep coming with lower detection levels. Since there's no new water, I think everything's in everything. It's just a matter of when will we be able to test for it, or when will they be able to test for it.
Yep.
So the other thing I was just going to bring up, I gave everybody a copy of this in your handouts just because it just came out. Like, it was on my desk when I took a day off yesterday when I got back. So I thought maybe I would share it with you all. And starting tomorrow, that will be a copy in our bills. There'll be a note on the bills that says, if you'd like to see this, you go out to the website, you can see it, or you can call the office. We can send you a copy of it, or whatever works. But the main thing is most of this language is coming from the EPA through the DNR. They have primacy, the Department of Natural Resource does. But most of this language is in probably every water in the system in the country has similar language. The first paragraph or two might have a little spin on it from us. of what we can say. But after that, most of this language is very generic to every utility. I think the change that's coming is that instead of doing this annually, they may have us do it every 6 months. So if we test and we get the same results, as long as there's no change in the results, we'll probably just send the same thing out again or notify the customers to that effect. So the requirement is that we have to have it out by July the 1st. So since we start a billing cycle tomorrow, it will start going out into billing cycles, and within 20 days, it will be out to all customers. I say 20 work days in the billing cycle. So if you have any questions on that, or it's a good report, I think, good results, and so we're very fortunate to have the water we have.
Anybody have any questions for water?
I love our water. Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. And
Thank the staff.
will this be the last time that you're at our meeting?
No, I meet with HR as far as retirement plans, but it won't be till July the 28th. So
Okay,
we'll have
well,
some other
thank you.
meetings. So
We still have time to write letters.
exactly what kind of letters?
You'll find
I don't know what type of letter.
We're gonna have to come up with some really humdingers, some questions for him on his last day.
Long-term projects or something.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. IPL.
Other than any questions from you, I don't have anything else to report this month.
Does anybody have any questions?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you know anything about the battery operation that we brought up a little bit before? That's a private operation. Are they functioning? What kind of capacity are they working with? Anything like that?
Oh, no, that project is still in the planning process
Okay.
through Southwest Power Pool. I mean, Southwest Power Pool is actively studying their proposal, but it's still at that stage.
Oh, I thought they were up and running, so
Oh, no.
thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for IPL? Hearing none, you're gonna get off lucky this month. All right, WC manager, do you have anything for us?
Nothing today. Thanks.
Okay. All right, upcoming items, finance administration like normal. And that brings us to board member comments. Does any board member have anything they would like to say?
I'd like to just, on our agenda, we keep having upcoming items, finance and admin go over details, and we do it anyway. It's part of our normal agenda. I'd like to just see it off the agenda. And nothing there, and if we have something, then we'll put it in, but that's just kind of a redundant. We're gonna do that anyway.
I'll speak to that. I also think that the finance department is going to be changing the structure of the financials a little bit. And so we had kind of talked with Christina about, we probably aren't going to do that topic until we change the financials, how they're presented. There's some things in finance, like I know whenever I look at financials, I would prefer to see prior year numbers for comparison. And so I think that's something that we're gonna add into our financials. But yes, we can, anytime you guys have a question, you can ask on the financials. But if you wanted us to go through them, what they mean, give you an explanation, we'd be happy to do that. But up
And
to you
that's a
guys.
presentation for another day.
Yeah.
But I just think we have it on here all the time, and it's a redundant thing. We do it anyway, and if we do have them in for a special training session, financials for dummies or something, then we can put that down there. Probably borrow that title from somebody.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
may I add something?
sure.
It was originally asked quite a few months ago, and I think it was requested to try to simplify the financials, to be able to understand them a little better.
And that may be part of a presentation they can do for us to,
Yeah, there's been a lot of change with staff.
Yeah.
And then as well as other changes that she's referred to. So
yeah.
If you'd like to remove that, we can.
So do we need a motion to remove it?
Yeah, I would say.
Well, I'll make a motion that we remove under the upcoming items, A, the finance and admin, go over details of financials, because it's kind of a redundant thing.
Okay.
Now, we could put in there, well, that's my motion. We could put in there, how do we get Dan Montgomery not to leave? But that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
But my motion was to remove that from the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Steve McLucky,
Yes.
Michael Tauschig. Yes. David McDowell.
Yes.
Sherry Tindall.
Yes.
Anthony Jeremito.
Yes.
Les Boatright.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Now, would you like to make a motion about Mr. Montgomery?
Sure.
All right.
No, he knows where I live.
Does anybody else have anything to add? Hearing none. Our next meeting is June 15th, 2023.
Thank you.
And with that, we are adjourned.
Onward and downward.
Thank you.
I thought the same thing, Russ.
Well,
It's been on there ever since I've been on there.
yeah.
If they do some changes, then we would want a little different detail. And I agree with you here. You know, even if there were special projects last year, we had projects this year too, of course. And, now they come here.
Dan, how long does it take to fill that tank back up?
Not very long. And we were
It's like
at with that, the year right now. We, in theory, fingers crossed, are about
Just turn it over, turn everything over.
I went back to part two after